All right, everyone. So, little mishap while we were recording our season 6 premiere. My phone didn't want to record. It kept stopping and re-recording and stopping and re-recording. So, unfortunately, the season 6 premiere does not have video.
Nope. Whoopsies.
I'm a little disappointed. Jeremy and I were on point with our jokes. Which is a first because we never see eye to eye on jokes. But we were on it this episode.
Yeah, I was pretty on it.
But hopefully you guys enjoy us discussing the movie and
it's old school reservations right here.
Yeah, old school reservations. Hopefully next week I'll have it all fixed and we can really get the ball rolling.
Yep.
So until then, we hope you enjoy Irreversible.
Hey everybody! Welcome back to the show. This is Reservations. We are your host. I'm Jeremy Blair.
And I'm Rand Whalen. Switching it up this season.
We are switching it up. I did the intro this time.
Man, it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. I've been very excited to come back and to discuss, especially this one.
Yeah.
I've been, I even watched the movie a day early because I was so excited. Yeah, because I was like, finally, we're getting back to this.
Well, I mean, season 5 was so strange because we had started it pretty much during the big part of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But we made it through, cranked out 25 episodes. 25 good episodes. And apparently, especially our No Country for Old Men episode.
Yeah, No Country for Old Men gets a lot of praise from the 3 people that have listened to it.
Yeah.
So, you
Shout
3
out
people.
to our
you
3
know who
fans.
you are. You know who you are.
Yes, and you can expect the same highbrow jokes this season as well.
Yes.
Yeah, man. And, and I've also been looking forward to it because now especially, myself, I got some new ink.
Yeah, you got new ink.
Got the new ink, which the listeners aren't getting to see. YouTube's getting to see though.
Yeah. So you got some new ink tats, some new tats with ink,
some new flesh wounds.
Yeah, some new ink tats, which is pretty exciting. We love tattoos here on Reservations. Really excited to get back to it. Really excited that I am doing strange films this season.
Yes. If anyone remembers, Jeremy challenged himself, not necessarily me, but challenged himself that you're going to do all strange films.
Yeah, because, last season was sort of the downers, right? I just wanted to do sad movies, right? Just to see what would break you, honestly. You know what I mean? And nothing really did, so congratulations.
Well, and this one almost did, which we'll get to.
Yeah, this one would have been the one to break you if I wasn't saving it for this. So.
But yeah, and I'm going to try to participate in the strange films as well, as we were kind of talking about off mic. I've got a couple locked and loaded that aren't necessarily strange, but I still want to talk about. And I also kind of told you that I'm going to use strange as a concept.
Yeah.
The film itself may not be strange, but the idea behind the film is strange.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
So you're kind of, you're kind of stretching the
really
definition a bit.
Yes.
Mine, I'm hoping that, the story can be, relatively
mundane.
Yeah, but I want the presentation to be strange.
Oh, this for sure had it.
Yeah, this one did. Because, really this... Okay. Today's film is Irreversible. And Gaspar Noé.
I just want to give a quick disclaimer. I warned you I was going to do this.
Yeah.
This one is probably going to be the most violent and disturbing film that we've talked about. So if you're not into that, this is your warning now, because we're not going to get super into detail, but we will talk about a lot of the stuff that happens. Yeah. So if you're not into that, just, I guess, fast forward to the end for our teaser for next week's episode. I'm not talking to you, Siri. And everyone else, strap in.
Yeah, because this is going to be wild.
Yeah, you were being very ominous when I was asking you what should I prepare for? And all you were saying is just buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up, man.
And I'm like, okay, so then should I eat then? And you're like, dealer's choice.
Dealer's choice.
I was like at my work yelling. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what am I about to get into here?
It's hard to describe because you don't want to, ruin it. You don't want to just be like, the camera doesn't stop moving, have fun,
Yes. And of course, as I told you when we went and grabbed lunch, that I did have to pause at one point. But, I mean, if I'm being honest, the only reason why I had to pause, and I'll talk about it when we get to that part, is just because I was like, if it's going to be this violent, I need to just pause for a little bit.
Right. And it is, pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the first 2/3 of the movie, which technically is the last 2/3 of the plot. Okay.
All right.
Irreversible.
I will let you lead.
Okay.
Tell the people what we're talking about.
Irreversible is... I don't know if it's my favorite Gaspar Noé film. He's also done Into the Void. Shout out to the podcast also that it's named after. So Into the Void was great. Love, of course, we've discussed on this podcast before.
Yeah.
He's done I Stand Alone, which has a very cool connection to this film. And then Climax, which was his last one he did, which was also pretty rad. So I don't know, this one's my favorite. It's hard to say this could be anyone's favorite movie.
Yeah.
But out of his stuff, I mean, it's definitely the most... It's not the craziest, but it is the most violent and graphic, I think.
Yeah. When kind of preparing myself for it, I didn't want to read any spoilers, but I did want to read just a little bit about the film. And I saw that Roger Ebert pretty much called this film so violent it's unwatchable.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, if the former king of movie reviews has to say this, that's not good.
Yeah, no.
I would say the reason why, and we'll get there for sure, but we can just lead with this. I would say the reason why people say it's so violent is because of its authenticity and realism.
Yeah. I mean...
It feels like we just really witnessed these horrible things on camera that, like almost like a found footage style.
Exactly. And it is we'll talk about it some more, but it's the only point of the movie the camera stops moving.
Yeah.
Right? So there is nothing to distract you. So anyway, okay. So this movie is done in reverse chronological order, similar to the color scenes in Memento. So once we get to the end...
That's technically the beginning.
Right? Once we get to the end of a scene, we will go to the beginning of the next scene, and it will end with the beginning of the scene we saw before. So I know that's sort of a lot, but you get it. Once you watch it, you're like, okay, I got the rhythm of it. I know where we're stopping, where we're going back, right?
Yeah, when I was describing it to Ashley, I was worried she was going to mistake me for saying like that the actual movie is played in reverse, like we're seeing everything in reverse. And I was like, no, it's like she got it, but I was worried that that's what she was going to assume.
Yeah.
When it's actually how I would say how you described it. That's the best description, because I was like, yeah, like the movie is in reverse, but like not like
but it's
actually,
it's not on rewind, but so we begin at the end with
the credits rolling.
Well, yeah. So the credits are
going down instead of up.
Right. So the credits are bananas also because they're super weird and all the letters are backwards and right. And I really like he's done this before where he just flashes names and stuff like that. He's done that before. Sort of disorienting. Yeah. And once we get started, we meet the Butcher, which if you're a fan of Gaspar's, that's a character from I Stand Alone and Carne. So Carne is the short film, and then I Stand Alone is the feature length.
Yeah, I had to look that up because I was like, because you never see him again in the film.
No, and so it's sort of like, oh hey, it's the Butcher, right, from I Stand Alone. So it's and he tells briefly his story, and we kind of see what he's doing now and that sort of thing. His movie is also out of this world insane, right? Because the subject matter is just awful. With his story, what he was saying is true. He did sleep with his daughter, and that's so. I mean, that's like his I Stand Alone is insane. Okay. The presentation is also sort of weird, but not as weird as this one.
Right.
So, then we see Vincent Cassell's character be put down on the stretcher. We see Pierre be arrested. And then we get to see why he's on a stretcher and why he got arrested. So this is probably the craziest the movie gets in terms of camera movement, in terms of soundtrack, in terms of lighting. This is the most extreme it gets.
Yeah.
Right?
As I mentioned to you while we were having lunch, that it did make me a little sick to my stomach because of how chaotic the camera is up and down and rotating.
It is funny you say that, Rainiel, because I have it down here. For the first 30 minutes, there is a sound frequency that's almost inaudible. And it is at, hold on, I have it written down, 28 hertz.
They can see that you don't have it written down, though.
No, well, I mean, I have it written on my phone. I have it in written form in front of me.
Oh, wait, well, they can't. Never mind.
So it's at 28 hertz, and it's similar to a frequency found in earthquakes. And so you can't hear it, but it's almost like you can feel it, and your ears still pick it up, right? And it's supposed, in humans, it causes nausea, vertigo, and sort of like illness, right? Like sickness, right?
Right.
And so for the first 30 minutes, that's underneath
the camera movement.
Right. So that's underneath everything we're seeing and hearing. And so I'm not surprised you got a little nauseated because it's supposed to, right?
I mean, like, not to the point where, like, I could have potentially been dry heaving, but I was just like...
No. But I mean, you felt a little...
I was like something's off a little bit. And
so that's by design. And so what he's trying to do, I think, with that is put you more into Marcus's shoes. Marcus is frantically trying to find this person who's done this horrible, horrible thing to his girlfriend, right? And is full of rage and he's in shock, and he's, also in a state of sort of mourning because, this horrible thing has happened to his girlfriend, and he doesn't really know why how she's doing right now. Yeah. Also, right?
Well, no. At this point, he knows because Pierre mentions that in the next two scenes that she's in the hospital.
Oh, well, I mean,
like if she's
like she's in the hospital, but
like, is she alive? Is she dead?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, will she wake up? Right. These sort of things. Right. So, and we sort of feel that with the insane camera, right? It never stops.
Nope.
And it will slow down so we can see before we catch up with Marcus, it is just insane, and we can't really make heads or tails of what's going on, where we are, right? What direction the camera is pointing, up, down, left, right, we don't know.
Yeah.
Until we catch up with Marcus and Pierre in the Rectum, which is the gay S&M sex club that is in this France town.
I think it's
is it Paris?
I don't know if it's Paris, but I think it's definitely France.
Well, no, they're in France.
Yeah.
That's not up for negotiation, but I don't know which city it's in. But anyway, so I kind of want to talk about the camera movement for a little bit because it is so unique.
I figured we would.
And it's so over the top.
I mean, it really is. Even though it was a little, and I even told you that I was kind of getting tired of it because I was just like, okay, like, can I get a static shot at least once now? Ooh. But it is.
Be careful what you wish for.
I know. But it was. I was like, that's really cool though, because the audience are feeling as disoriented as Marcus is, because while also alternating up, down, left, right shots. we're getting zoom ins and zoom outs, and we're not focused on one specific thing.
No. Which, really does put the audience in the situation, right? Without, I think it's an interesting, unique way to put someone in the correct mindset for this scene, right? Because they could have done it a different way. But I think constantly moving that camera and not giving you a chance to breathe really helps, right?
Oh, yeah.
And as he's just going through this, what looks like a hellscape dungeon.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't really look like some sort of club you would join.
This ain't Crunch Fitness over here, my guy.
No. Like, good Lord.
Not sponsored by Crunch Fitness.
No. Oh, man. We're gonna get called to that. So, by the time he gets what he's after, which is he's looking for a guy called Tenya, which is a tapeworm.
Yes.
Right, which is gross. Gross nickname. Gross guy.
Gross guy. Especially when we finally know what he looks like.
Right. Once we. Yeah. So. That scene is also just so impressive. I think this movie came out in like
03,
right? The CGI for the fire extinguisher is rad.
Yeah.
Right? And it's sort of reminiscent of, to give you an example, if you haven't seen the movie yet, first off, you should. If you want to listen to this. Not you should, just in general, because we're going to talk about why maybe you shouldn't watch this movie a whole bunch of times. But it was reminiscent of The Shining when we're following the axe head.
Yeah.
The camera follows that instead of Jack or just a static shot or whatever. And so we're following the fire extinguisher almost.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, fuck, dude.
And he destroys that guy's head. Right? Right.
And almost kind of...
And the arm breaking, of course, reminds me of Talladega Nights, and it never will not remind me of Talladega Nights.
Why don't you just break my arm?
Pepe Le Pew, which he was also French, so that all comes together. So
his name is Jean-Pierre.
See, it's all coming together.
Wait, are you saying that Adam McKay was like, yo,
have you guys seen this movie?
Have you seen this movie? We're gonna recreate that scene, and Will's like, what scene? Oh no, we're gonna break your arm. Oh,
that's fine. Irreversible. No, I was just kidding. But
I hate that you say that, because now that's all I can see. Because when it happened, I was like, oh,
it was fast. So it's not like, it wasn't a gradual like I'm gonna torture you until I break it. It was just a quick boom. It's broken.
Oh yeah, dude.
Right?
But then fuck. And I have to say this. I'm not saying that guy didn't deserve a fire extinguisher to the face. But what I'm saying is what Pierre did seemed a little bit unprovoked.
I think by the time we get there, obviously we're jumping right at the end. So we have no idea why these guys are so upset. Right? We're not supposed to know why these guys are so upset, right?
Right. Okay, yeah.
Or why Tenya is so important and why he's looking for him and why he's so mad at him, whatever. So I think what it is just Pierre had been drug along
this entire time, yeah.
Right, ever since they found out about Alex, right? He has just been dragged and watched Marcus lose his mind, right? I think it all culminates in that moment for Pierre that he finally just has enough and he's just losing his mind also.
Yeah, and he can't hurt Marcus, so I'm gonna hurt.
He's just so furious that all of this is happening. Not only is his friend in the hospital, but now his other friend is acting like a complete lunatic,
just got his arm broken,
and he just doesn't understand why this revenge is so important to him, right, which makes you think is like, well, that's why Alex broke up with you, but that's not the point. Okay. Then the few scenes after that, we're starting to piece together
what happened
and how they got there. Right? So we'll get to why the backwards is important later, but I do dig the backwards stuff. So it's
a very interesting way of telling the story.
Make it shorter. So this one was long. It was a long scene at the rectum, right?
Oh yeah.
And we're just like, is this the movie? Are we just
here in the entire time?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's about a good.
It's a while.
20, 30 minutes.
And so when they're in the car by themselves, that's not very long.
No, it's.
And then when they're in the car with the cab driver, that's not very long, right? But it's showing us now. We might have been a little confused by stretcher. Now he's fine, right? He was on a stretcher, but now he's fine. I don't understand. Mm-hmm. But I think the car scenes let us know we're going backwards, right? With dialogue, with very,
offensive dialogue.
Yeah, very offensive dialogue, and not very sensitive to other cultures and races,
nope.
or sexual orientations. We get the idea. Oh, okay, because they're like, wait, they're talking about some guy, some Asian guy that they threw out of the car. Where is he? Oh,
there he is.
There he is. We're going backwards, right? So, and then once we get to the prostitutes, right, we're pretty honed in. Now, to talk about the prostitutes scenes real quick, I like that they speak Spanish. I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Because at first, I'm just so used to hearing the French.
Yeah. By this point, yeah, we've heard nothing but French.
Right. And then they start speaking Spanish, and the subtitles just have the words in Spanish. They're not translated for us, which is interesting. And I think it's because Marcus doesn't speak Spanish. Right.
So if we are to relate to Marcus, this is how it would feel for us.
Right.
We don't know what she's saying.
We're frustrated because I think native French speakers won't traditionally know Spanish either. Right.
Right.
The fact that I knew what he was saying is just because of my grandparents and I live in West Texas. Right. That's
right.
That's
props to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I barely passed Spanish 2, so I could get my credits.
Yeah, I knew. Well, I mean, I didn't know like word for word what he was saying, but I was like, I got it. I know what he's talking about.
Is that when Haley was kind of paying attention a little bit, or no?
No, no, we hadn't gotten there yet. She was still on the computer, but so yikes! I felt really bad, by the way. So they're getting information, and later it makes sense. Which, of course, this whole movie is. Later it makes sense, right?
Right.
But the prostitute that they find, because they were looking for this guy, I think it's Guillermo, right? Mm-hmm. They find Guillermo, one of the prostitutes. The reveal was fun. Shout out to Crying Game. Anyway, similar reveal that they were trans prostitute. Anyway, and so that's not the person. Right? That we're looking for. But this person was with that person.
With
the person
Tenya.
Tenya, the one we're looking for.
Right.
And later we see that they actually were. Right.
Yeah.
Now, this is where I think, yes, the car stuff was insane. Marcus is out of his mind. Mm-hmm. Right? This is where I think he's the most out of his mind because he is, has no regard.
He's so hell-bent on information that he is willing to stab this person.
In the eyeball.
Yeah.
That was really close to their eyeball.
Yeah, he's and of course, as I read after the movie was over a little bit, he's still pretty high.
Oh, that's true.
So, yeah. I mean, he probably wouldn't have been in the right mind space anyway.
Right.
But he's riding that white pony, so he's ready. He's ready to stab people in the eyes.
He is, and
it doesn't help that the two guys that are helping them track down Tenya are also like, "Do it, bruh.
Yeah, do it.
Do it. We got her.
Get that info,
And Pierre again is the only voice of reason here.
Yeah, he just speaks Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the Spanish-speaking population is, and I would assume it would be 0. So this was it was interesting the first time I saw it to be like, oh, they're speaking Spanish. That's really strange,
right?
Because you would think,
yeah,
why?
Anyway,
maybe Spain is close by. Maybe that's why.
Dude, here I'll put up a map.
Okay, map. Spain is kind of close by, so that's why. Okay. Map's gone. Okay, so
anyway, but yeah, Marcus is, the car stuff. Yeah, he was pretty off the rails, but in comparison, that was pretty tame to what he's doing to this poor woman.
It might be because he has zero information until then.
True.
And so now that he's on a roll and has a destination to get to, then it's sort of, right. He's got to get to this S&M gang.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had warned Haley this has a 10, 15 minute rape scene. And she was like, oof. Okay. Oof. Okay. She didn't say oof.
But she quickly changed that.
Yeah, she was like, oh, okay. I go, yeah. So do something else, And so when we see Alex walk out of the building and the camera's following her out, I told her, I go, here we go.
Yeah.
Here it comes.
So before we get into that part, I did not know about that.
Okay.
At all.
Good. Because I think that's sort of how you want to go into this. I think I knew the first time I saw it.
Then I did a little... I didn't read ahead, but I just wanted a little bit of information. And one of the bits was of that scene, and I was like, oh no. Excuse me. And as soon as she walks out of the building, I was like, fuck, here it comes.
Here we go. And it's sort of this, it is a buildup of tension because we're following her and we know something horrible's happened. It's going to happen.
It's about to happen, yeah.
Right,
because the scene right before that is when we see her get loaded up into the stretcher.
On the stretcher, right. And so we're like, uh-oh, she's fine.
Uh-oh.
Right. Yeah. And so this, and let's remind everyone that up until this point, especially in Marcus's scenes, the camera is constantly in motion. It does not stay still at all. It moves around so much. And especially in transition, where they're transitioning to a new scene. So we're going back a scene, it'll like go up to the sky or, like swivel around a bit.
Right.
When we're following Alex, it's a little slower, right? It's more of a traditional camera move, right? And then we see Tanya and Guillermo in the tunnel.
Yep.
Right. This is a tunnel. I don't know if it actually exists. I don't know enough about the city or whatever to know if that's an actual way people go. I would never in a million years at night go down there.
I would assume it is, but yeah, no, absolutely not.
Never. And the fact that she's like, okay, cool. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because the lady on the street corner is like, oh, yeah, that'll be fast. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, thanks. Like, nah, family. I've seen too many horror movies to never go down a long tunnel at night. I don't care if it is lit.
Right.
Yeah.
So, sorry, for a minute there, I was like, what do you mean? Like, how do you mean that? But yeah, not even if... No.
Bright lights everywhere. Still wouldn't do it. So,
the fact that it's red was also pretty shocking. It's very vivid, the red.
That kind of reminded me a little bit of the red room in The Shining.
Yeah.
The red bathroom in The Shining.
Yeah.
Because it is very eye-catching. But as I've always known in film, whenever there's the color red, it typically means something bad is going to happen.
Well, you'd never be more right than at this very second. So, this is the rape scene.
Yeah.
And I wrote it down because I'd forgotten that you can almost see as it's happening, and once it gets started, that Gaspar just puts the camera down. You could almost see him go and pause. Yeah. And we're just going to stay here. And it does. It is one shot. Most of the scenes are.
Yeah.
If not all the scenes.
Shout out to our Birdman. I don't know why I just pointed at my camera.
There is no camera.
There is no camera.
We just found out that the camera was not recording, or it did, and it was doing something weird. So this will be an audio only. So ignore the map stuff from earlier.
Yeah. Damn, that was a good joke too.
I know. Anyway, so.
But yeah, shout out to our Birdman one takes. But yeah, it's hard to watch because
it's extremely hard to watch.
And I didn't look away. You should be proud of me. I didn't look away. I didn't fast forward. I sat there and I, hand over my mouth, I was just like, oh my God. Because I couldn't believe that it was so real.
Yeah.
You know, shout out to the actor and actress. I can't think of the actor's name.
The Monica Bellucci.
She's, you know, anyone fans of The Matrix out there or Spectre.
Shoot 'em up. She was also in Passion of the Christ. That's fine. She was Mary Magdalene. Anyway.
But, you know, they did such a good job. But it's, as I told you off mic, I had to keep reminding myself, this isn't real. This is controlled. They're just acting. It just and because it is so vivid and so, like I started the episode, authentic, that I would say maybe 5%, a little bit, I was like, is this really happening? Did he just say like, hey, do it?
Yeah, it's wild how real it is. And I think it's because Gaspar Noé doesn't allow us
to look away.
Right. It is there.
I have a good example, and I think you'll be proud of me. In the remake of Straw Dogs with James Marsden, there is also a rape scene.
Yep.
With Alexander Skarsgård and some other dude. They rape his wife. But in that movie, they do make us look away.
Oh,
because Alexander rapes her just for a little bit, and then kind of leaves her alone, and then the camera pulls back and focuses on Alex as he like is zipping his pants back up, and his buddy comes in and rapes her, but it's blurred.
Oh, okay.
And then the camera follows him as he sits down in the chair and he watches it happen, and we're focused on Alexander.
Yeah,
and that's it. As we're this, yeah, you don't get to look away.
No.
You kind of how I mentioned earlier of the camera, or with the subtitles of us, the audience, feeling what Marcus is feeling. It's almost like he's pretty much saying like, you're gonna experience.
And what makes this scene so horrifying is it doesn't stop when it's over.
Yeah. Oh my God, I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Especially, and here's the strange thing. We see her right before this. Her face is bruised, and after it's over, I'm like, oh, it's it. It's done. It's over. And I completely forgot. Like, well, how did her face get bruised?
Yeah.
And it's, again, kind of my point about Pierre, of it being almost unwanted. That especially was unwanted.
Yeah.
But I guess further proof that Tinya is a human piece of garbage.
Oh, he's
the fucking
evil
worst.
Incarnate. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably the most evil character I've seen in a movie.
Yeah.
Not talking about comic book movies. Like, I'm being real. Like, that's the worst I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to say that him beating her is worse than the rape scene, but that whole sequence is...
Right. The whole thing is awful.
Is awful.
And I think what makes it, again, more authentic is the mistake of the crew member wandering into shot. So we get the crew member, which, again, like I told you at launch, he was a lot closer than I remembered. I remembered him being further away. But he's at the end of the hallway where it turns, and he just stops, right? He probably assumed they were rehearsing or something and didn't know that the camera was on, and then quickly leaves. What it looks like is a
bystander.
Right. Saw and left and didn't do anything. Right. Which adds insult to
yeah. Which I agreed. I completely agree. It really drives home Alex's helplessness.
Right.
Because it's...
I know. And so, and again, I maintain the fact that it is because the camera stays on.
Yeah.
Right? When it's over.
I feel like...
Because it's not over. And that's sort of the point.
Yeah. It's... Yeah, because then that's when the camera gets picked up again. But then turned around.
Right.
Because when they turn from the camera gets picked up and put back down.
Right.
In front of them. Mm-hmm. And it's...
I know.
And here's what's so crazy. I actually did want to look away at one point. I was like, I can't look at this anymore.
Yeah. But
I couldn't look away.
I know.
Which, it's wild that I couldn't. I was like, but why? Why can't I? Because I think what it is, because then when it's over, it was over. It was done.
Yeah.
Because then the rest of the movie plays out like a
relationship drama.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Total contrast to what we just witnessed.
And I also remembered there being so much more movie after that. I thought it was like, okay, we're only like halfway through. And it turns out we're not. We only have about 30 minutes left after that. Mm-hmm. Just about. And
it's because I think he doesn't stick on this, because now that we've witnessed this horrible act, well, everything after this is fluff.
Right. Everything after this would be potentially build up. Right.
Right.
This, if shot in chronological order, it would have been, or shown in chronological order, we would be building up to this part.
Right.
And then the rest of it's chaos. The aftermath, right? But now we're kind of just getting to know these people and who they are, and almost retroactively feeling bad for them because we know
what's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it's like, I'm going to use How I Met Your Mother joke. It's like if Jason Voorhees were to get over the intercom at Camp Crystal Lake and say, "Excuse me, campers, at midnight, I will be popping out of that bush and killing you all."
Yeah.
You know, the horrible part's over. We know what's going to happen.
Right.
And I agree. Now we feel bad for them.
Right.
Because we know what's going to happen to Alex. We know what's going to happen to Marcus and what Pierre is going to have to do.
Right. It's sort of like watching a prequel to something.
Yeah.
You know, we know their fates. We know what's going to happen to them. Mm-hmm. And we know none of it's good. Right? All of these people's lives are ruined by the end of the night.
Yeah.
Completely ruined.
And if I'm being honest, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it on the podcast, I know I've told you, I really love a movie that one thing spirals everything else out of control. Of course, as we've talked about numerous times, our 100th episode special, The Big Lebowski, that the beginning of the movie spirals the rest of the movie
right
onward. And, you know, and I think that's why I'm not going to say I enjoyed the movie. I appreciated it.
Yeah,
but I think that's why. Is because now knowing this horrible act and how their lives are ruined, as you said, it's, I don't know, I really liked that.
Permanently changed. And I think one of the reasons I think it's done in this way backwards is to show that, you know, what if this horrible thing could be reversed? What, you know, like, let's say it's almost like in Funny Games when he clicks rewind.
Right.
Right?
Shout out to our Funny Games episode.
Shout out to Funny Games. A movie that a lot of people also think is unwatchable, by the way.
I disagree.
Well, now.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Well, and of course, then I've seen that movie tons of times.
Yeah, and I fucking love that movie.
So it's almost like he wants to say that, you know, even if I played the story backwards, it still happened to them, right? And it doesn't change anything because they're still going to live their lives forwards. Could be an interpretation.
I was going to save this question for the end.
Sure, yeah.
But I want to go ahead and ask it. Do you think if the movie had been released in chronological order, it would have had the same effect?
No. And I think it would have the the rape scene. It would have
that fire hydrant scene.
It would have those two, and then of course the camera movements. If all that was still there, I don't know, because I think it adds a layer of, it adds a layer to it. The backwards narrative, because again, I think it holds it up like why it has that question: why is it backwards? Why are we doing this? Not in order.
And do you think that also plays into the title, Irreversible?
Yes.
As you're kind of saying, as even if I were to place in reverse, it's irreversible.
I would be very interested to see it in chronological order. I think that would be cool. I checked my Blu-ray to see if I could, and maybe it's a special features. It wasn't.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, and especially, so I like what you're saying about how after that, we feel bad for all of them, especially when we get the reveal that Marcus and Alex are pregnant.
They are expecting a child, which I could have done without.
I was about to say, I feel like you have an opinion on that.
I did. It almost seemed... It was...
kind of shoehorned in there?
Or no, it was almost like, now you should feel bad. It's like, I already felt bad for her.
Yeah,
I don't need another reason to feel bad for her, right?
Okay. All right.
But I get that, maybe...
he needed to add a little bit more drama.
More. Yeah, maybe.
Because now potentially, she probably,
It would be interesting to know if he really wanted people to see it twice. Because... you get all the information by the end, but now you need to piece it all together, right? You need to see where we see Tenya at the S&M club.
Yeah.
Because now that you see him, it's like, no, that's the guy, not him. Yeah. He's the guy.
Because our villain gets away with it.
He gets away with it.
And I'm glad you said that, because the significance of it is he's smiling when his lackey is getting his face beaten in. Yeah. Because he knows, like, they got the wrong guy.
They got the wrong guy, yeah.
Because I would assume, okay, maybe he didn't know why they were doing it, but he probably was like, I did something, these guys wanted me, and they got the wrong guy.
Yeah. So he's like, I bet you they knew that girl, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's...
Yeah, and then,
and the problem, and here's my thing, as I've always told you, especially, again, shout out to our Funny Games episode, I hate it when our heroes, when the world that has been built is against our heroes, in a certain way. There's other examples, I'm not going to get into it. But in this one, I actually didn't feel anger, because by the end of it, well, the film technically ends sort of happily.
Yeah, on a positive, or at least,
this is what it was like before.
Right.
And it didn't give me time to feel anger.
Right. And I was about to say, it's probably because it was backwards.
Yeah.
If the movie culminated in
how it started.
Right. In the stretcher, and being arrested scene, then you'd be like, what the fuck, right?
Right.
But the fact that it works the other way, and that we see them at the beginning of their day, or a couple of days before,
night, yeah.
Or if it ends...
No, I think technically...
like the day before or something when it ends.
Yeah, it ends the day before, but for Marcus...
Oh, God, who knows, right?
Yeah, but for Marcus and Alex, it starts the night of.
Right.
Because they wake up and they're like, oh, we slept for too long.
Right.
We got to go pick up Pierre.
Right. And, of course, we get some exposition on how they're all connected. Right?
Yeah, that Pierre and Alex used to date, and apparently my boy did not live up sexually to Alex's standards. And then Marcus feels a little guilty that he stole Alex, but Alex is like, no, I made my choice.
Right. I had meant to go back, but there's no way I was going to put Haley through that again. I meant to go back to just watch and read because I can't listen to it, read their conversation on the bus. Yeah, because I was like, okay, this one, and it was like, oh, this is longer than I remembered.
Yeah,
oh, it must be important, right?
Yeah, as I've mentioned before on the podcast, when watching a foreign film, just let your eyes relax, and you'll be able to watch and read simultaneously.
But see, I was watching.
But this time, I was like.
Well, I was watching, reading, and worried about Haley because she had just seen this horrible thing and her stomach was hurting, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I told you not to watch it. I victim blamed. I was like, well, I told you. Oh my God. No, I felt really bad.
That's why I was glad Ashley wasn't home when I watched it.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh shit, I missed stuff because I felt bad.
If I'm being honest, I didn't care about that conversation.
I agree with you that one could say the audience now is just like, oh God, they're just talking,
Now, when it was just Marcus and Alex talking about
that's a little different.
Alex's dream, that I was okay with.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. But the three of them talking about sex and that
why Pierre and her weren't compatible and why, right? And
I was just
there are different philosophies on it.
I don't care.
I don't care. And I think it's sort of like, just like, I get to breathe.
I mean, I will say that scene does really drive home the fact that Pierre is kind of like a lovesick puppy for Alex.
Yeah.
Because we see at the party that Marcus is just throwing him girls. Like, hey, this is Pierre. He hasn't been laid in months. And he's like turning them all down. And
even Marcus is like getting him some,
Yeah.
Bad. Oh, bad. Stop it. And so, Marcus isn't a great guy either, but at least he cares about Alex enough to murder a guy, or at least want to.
Yeah, want to murder a guy. But yeah, and then, now, I do want to ask you this.
Sure, yeah.
Do you think the 2001 Space Odyssey poster is significant to the story?
No, and I'll tell you exactly why I know that.
Okay.
Because Gaspar Noé puts movie posters in all of his movies. So in Love, he has some really cool ones in there. He's got M, one of the ones I have in my house. He's got...
I'm assuming with the hand.
Yeah, it's the hand one. He's got... I think 2001 in that one also, but he's also got Silo in there. And so, you could tell just Gaspar Noé loves film and loves alternative film, sort of like Silo. And not everybody knows M, and not everybody knows, he would have, Lars von Trier stuff if he could, right?
Right.
So, no, and that's why.
Oh, okay.
Because he always puts movie posters in his movies, for most part.
Okay. Well, yeah, and then, I don't know if you caught it. Did you catch the Captain Marvel poster that they have in their apartment? I was like, oh, hey. In 13 years, that'll be made into a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, their house is cool.
Yeah, dude, that is a dope apartment.
Yeah.
I was jealous of their vinyl setup.
Yeah.
And did you catch the cream vinyl?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You better believe it.
Shout out to Eric Clapton.
Yeah,
Eric Clapton.
I have a great joke about Eric Clapton, but it can't be on mic. I'll get in so much trouble. So, anyway, I think the last 30 minutes is a breather.
Yeah.
Sort of. And again, it's to have you sit with their fates. It's to have you sit with what is going to happen to them. Mm-hmm. It's to make you just dread, what they're about to go into,
Yeah, I have another really good example. It's dramatic irony. I learned that from a series of unfortunate events with Patrick Warburton talking about dramatic irony. And the example he uses is, if everyone knew this plate of almond cookies was poisoned, and I didn't know, and I said, oh, great, I can't wait to eat this almond cookie, that's dramatic irony. Because everyone else knows that I'm probably, he doesn't say that I'm going to die, but... And I think that's what it is. It's he showed us this horrible thing, and now we have to... And
then a few horrible things after that.
Yeah, and now we have to be like, well, we know what's going to happen to them now.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're they're on borrowed time, in the lives that they're living now.
Mm-hmm.
They may all survive, right?
Yeah.
Pierre's for sure not going to die.
No, yeah,
right?
he may...
And neither is Marcus. Marcus has a broken arm, you know?
Yeah. Pierre may go to jail for a little bit, you know?
It wouldn't surprise me if Alex doesn't wake up. Like, if that would be the end of them.
Yeah, because, Because
he hit her so hard on the concrete.
Dude, and...
You know?
I didn't talk about it, but, like, again, with the realism, like, when that first kick and we see that her blood splatter, it's not like...
That's all done after, by the way.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean...
Put it in post.
Yeah, he put that in post.
I knew the fire hydrant was...
Of course.
Because it was several cuts, you know, like cut right before it hit.
Change out the face.
Yeah, put certain prosthetics on him, you know, and then they use CGI for the blood and the face to... Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, and I said it at the beginning, and I'll say it again, I think because of the realism and the authenticity, I think that's why I even read that it's the most walked out film.
I believe that.
And, you know, and like, I think even though, yes, it is disturbing, and yes, it's awful that someone would think this is a good idea, but the reason why I say I appreciate it is because I appreciate the realism.
Yeah.
Yes, and I feel like we've talked about it before. Yes, film was created as for escapism. Mm. But doing the podcast, I've learned that when it's real and it's grounded, it just adds so much more. Yes, it's horrible. Will I probably watch this movie again? If so, I'm going to skip that.
Are you really?
Yeah. Okay. Sitting through it once was enough.
You know what's funny? Okay. So, this is a tangent, but... so I have found that if I get really excited about a certain point in the film, right? Like, not necessarily this one, but let's say another one, right? Mm-hmm. And I jump immediately to that scene that I'm excited about, that I want to revisit. Mm-hmm. I find it doesn't have the same impact because I needed the rest of it to get there.
Right.
So I'm wondering if you did skip it, I'd be interested to see if it changes the movie for you.
I mean, I'll tell you what. I'll make you a promise. One of these days, not anytime soon, I may buy it, and I'll skip it, and I'll let you know.
Okay. Because I've found that because the fire, for me anyway, that's
the fire hydrant scene. Yeah, I was like, God damn.
It's wild. Yeah.
But violence like that,
it's different.
It doesn't skeeve me. I mean, when we saw Spiral, I was just like, mainly because I don't like seeing jaws being ripped off.
Oh, you don't?
But it doesn't gross me out. Oh. But yeah, so
there's one where they had a metal ring right there, like in their jaw. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
I'm not gonna lie. I've been thinking about actually sitting and watching the entire Saw franchise.
Oh, just watch the first 3. Don't torture yourself.
Well, no, man, because they added so much mythology to the rest of them. So,
I know.
But anyway,
fine.
So Jeremy, are you ready to wrap up?
Yes, I am.
Oh, and I have an oops I forgot.
Oh,
beat you to it.
Damn.
Because I was reading. So first, oops, I forgot. I was like, I wasn't looking, but I saw who scored the movie, and that was Tomas. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. The one of the halves of Daft Punk.
Is that true?
That's 100% true. The guy with the silver helmet. He scored the movie.
And that the soundtrack is completely off the wall bananas.
Yeah.
Like, especially in the rectum scene, but also, once, I don't know, there were several points I thought where my heart rate was up because of the soundtrack also.
Oh yeah. If anyone doesn't think, like, if you think Daft Punk and you probably think, like Tron, they scored Tron, that's fantastic, but only having one half of them score this movie, the part in the taxi, I caught. I was like, that sounds exactly like Daft Punk.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How interesting.
But the rest of it, I was like, there's no way.
And I think there was a sort of a heartbeat rhythm to the rape scene as well, or at least building up to it.
Yeah.
Because, you're supposed to feel for her safety, right? You're like your heart rate is going up, and so I liked that. That was a good oops I forgot, because the music in this, if you want to call it that, it's more like, I wouldn't say it's music. It's more
it's almost tones.
Yeah. He's scoring in emotion, in tone, which I guess is what music is. But in this case, it's more on the nose. Like let's do a heartbeat rhythm here, right? Let's do this crazy at the rectum, and right, which was driving me insane.
Yeah, man.
And the music is supposed to drive you insane, I think.
Oh, yeah, I think so, too. I think
this isn't meant to be, like, played in your house by itself.
Like, oh, man, dude. Just got the Irreversible soundtrack on?
Yo, dude, pop that on, man.
Who wants to come home and have an anxiety attack?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
a panic attack.
Just sitting on the couch, like...
Yeah.
Sounds like a fun time.
Yeah, let's see whose Xanax prescription works the best.
But no, I completely agree. The score is not meant to make you feel like you're having a fun time here. And yeah, man, when I learned that it was him, as soon as I saw his name, I was like,
that's so interesting.
I was like, I know that name.
And now it's kind of like wild that people didn't know they were French for a long time.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
That guy's like super French.
Both of them are.
Yeah.
Well, and R.I.P. to Daft Punk.
R.I.P.
My robot dads.
Anyway. It was us. We were Daft Punk.
The whole time. Did you see us in the same room as Daft Punk? No, you didn't. But no, man, like I said, I did appreciate the film.
Yeah.
It didn't break me, but that scene almost did.
I mean, it was.
I almost texted you and said I turned it off. I'm not finishing.
Can I tell you something? What? Nothing will now. If that didn't, nothing will.
But my two nevers are still nevers.
Are you sure?
100%. I do not feel like watching Willem Dafoe get a drill through his Achilles tendon.
Okay, first off, it's not really a drill. It's more like a hand crank thing.
Yeah, I'd still rather not. And I'd still also rather not see someone hold a candle over someone's penis.
Come on, dude. It's like barely in the scene, you know?
But no,
I'll silo my break it then.
But no, man, like, I had a brief fleeting moment. I was like, I'm going to turn it off and text him, like, I didn't finish it. Sorry.
Which is what I was expecting.
But I was like, no, I'm going to stick it out. Because, you know, even though you are at the edge of your seat, as we've been talking about for the last 30 minutes after that, a part of me is like, well, it's over now.
Right.
It's done. And I love what you said, that now we can breathe.
Yeah. Now, the rest of it is just
it's a cakewalk.
It's just to feel bad. It's just to sit in the dread that is awaiting.
You know what's going to happen.
That is awaiting these people.
Yeah. But yeah, man.
Cool, man.
Great way to start season 6.
Season 6, baby.
So Jeremy.
Yes, sir.
Are you ready to hear what we're going to talk about next week?
I am.
So like I said, I'm going to try to participate in the strangeness. I am going to try to find films that are strange, or I'm going to use my spread thin strange concept. But this one for sure is strange, because I told you that it was. This was going to be my first pick of season 6. And that is the 1977 Japanese film House. It is wild, and I love every minute of it.
Yeah, a little girl wrote it. So, yeah. Yeah, the director just asked his like 6-year-old daughter, like, what do you think?
Yeah, man, it's wild. I was so excited when I bought it on Criterion and it came in. I immediately popped it in, because it came in on a day I was doing laundry, and I was like, perfect. I have to sit on the floor and fold clothes. I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
And there was times where I stopped so I could watch, and I love every second of it.
Yeah, it's wild. It's the epitome of like dream logic, and just, you know, it's nonsense. The whole movie is nonsense.
Yeah, there is no catharsis in this movie. There's no. I mean, yeah, technically there's a villain, but like there's no heroes. It just, if you can, when we do the episode, if anyone out there can discern something from it, I would be impressed.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, House.
House, episode 2. Here we go, everyone.
Season 6?
We keep looking where there should be a camera, and there's no camera.
I kept looking at it.
I know, so am I. I keep like,
Oh, there's nothing there.
But yeah, so we hope everyone enjoyed Irreversible. I almost forgot the movie.
Oh, I thought you were going to be like, maybe not enjoyed, it's not the right word.
Maybe
I hope
maybe
you enjoyed
not
the episode.
Okay,
But
yeah, enjoyed us discussing this horrible movie. Well, horrible. Anyway, we hope everyone enjoyed us talking about it, and we're off to a good start.
Yep.
And we will see you next week for House.